Wholeness and balanced vibrations to another week of diving in deeper, not only to reality transurfing teachers, but more going into Vedanta, Vedic knowledge, and merging a higher consciousness knowledge with reality transurfing in the quantum field. Before I start today's transmission, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to my page. And also hit the bell notification so that you're notified on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays and Fridays will mainly be teaching lessons, and Wednesdays will be a meditation merging both of Mondays and Fridays lessons. So, as I said on Friday's transmission, we spoke about the basic terms used in reality transurfing, almost as a form of revision, so that when I dive in deeper to these teachings, you have those basic terms at hand. Before I did the 78 days practical version of the reality transurfing, I went through a glossary of terms also used in these teachings. So let's just have a little recap to do with our states of being, which are the waking, the dreaming, the sleeping, the deep sleeping, the conscious sleeping stages. And so the first one is the waking stage, which is very much to do where we are in this physical reality, and we are associated mainly with the out breath. So we're concerned very much with the objective reality within this duality nature that is showing up to us. And in this stage, we tend to perceive ourselves mainly in terms of the physical body. And we're focused on and often even lost on to the objects of our perception, perceiving them in terms of their mutual differentiation and our resultant preferences of what we want them to be. So although we call this the waking state, it is differentiated from the sleeping and dreaming states from a spiritual perspective, as it is completely the most unawake of all the states. And this is when we often have to keep asking ourselves, in this state, am I awake? Am I aware? And the next stage, the dreaming state. The dreaming phase is one that happens in the subtle body. We're mostly associated with the in-breath, and it is in the astral or energetic body where we roam the world of the impressions of our experiences. Here there's a unity in the diversity, as the elements of the dream state are simply aspects of a single mind, and it tells us a lot about our subconscious mind. So it is here that we can be waking in a dream, which is called lucid dreaming, and in these states we can make conscious choices in the dream world and make the inner shifts within these states to really rewrite our past and start to have new insights, self-awareness in this deep sleep, which is associated with our subjective inner consciousness. You see, this subjective consciousness is what we call in reality transurfing our inner screen. For example, it's when we can be lost in a thought. And when we're lost in our thoughts, we can become quite oblivious to what is going on around us. And we automatically do things on this autopilot mode. Then we have the outer screen, where we're completely concerned with the objective reality, or of something that is only external, and you completely forget about yourself, and you do things again automatically without thinking a thought inwardly. An example of this could be when you're driving the car and you're just cruising along, but you're just concentrating on the road, on the external. So the frame of reality, the film script, the frame moves along the film roll. And it's almost like describing like a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly who then lays an egg, which then turns into a caterpillar. So the whole of that frame has moved along a film roll. And so taking this into our reality, or our conscious reality, one's attention is either on the inner plane, within, or the outer plane, the external. But one's attention is very, very rarely in between the two. And that between state is the pause state, the spaciousness, the neutrality, the middle point, often called the 0 point, the absolute. And it is in this absolute state, the 0 point reality, that we can stop and start to take control of our reality. You see, generally people have stopped taking any control of their attention, which tends to either drift randomly or gets pulled into different realities from the inner and the outer screen in a very non-conscious manner. And so we sleep. When we sleep, we are in a subconscious state in which our attention is immersed either in the outer or in the inner screen. And in this state, you're helpless and you do not have any control over yourself or of anything around you. So dreaming is what we see in the dream space or in a space of physical reality. Reality and dreaming, therefore, are essentially the same thing, as you're also a dreaming reality, or dreaming your reality. Reality is a dream, and dreaming is a reality. And so this brings me on to some of the teachings of Ramana Maharishi, a self-realized, self-actualized being of very, very high consciousness. And he often said that, and he lived on top of a mountain, Mount Arunachala in South India, and he said that you are searching for the silence of the mountain, but you are looking for something outside of you. Note that this silence is accessible to you right now, inside the center of your being. So in deep sleep, you exist. Awake, you remain as the same self in both the states. The difference is only in the awareness and the non-awareness of the world. The world rises with the mind and sets with the mind. And so that which sets and rises is not the real self. The real self is different, and it's giving rise to the mind, sustaining it and resolving it. And so the self, the pure consciousness, is the underlying principle, And it resides in truth in that central screen, in simple silence, in that spaciousness. And so this brings me to awakening. Because in order to wake up in either a dream or in the waking life, you must pull your attention away from the external or the internal screen and shift your awareness into the center, the awareness center, the 0 point, or the observation point from which you can see where your attention is directed in any given moment and what it's focusing on. And at the same time, you see what you're doing and what's going on around you. I see myself. I see my reality. So you're seeing yourself, but you're also seeing your reality. You're existing in both. But from that, you're able to detach yourself as the detached observer in the central screen. And what does this do? This brings awareness of your reality. And so when you wake up, you can ask yourself, where am I? What am I doing? Where is my attention immersed in right now? And in the moment that you ask yourself that question, you awaken and arrive at an awareness point. This is me. This is my reality. I am awake. I am aware. I see myself. I see my reality. And so when you enter that awareness point, having said to yourself, I see myself, I see my reality, you can then start to tell yourself, today I will take a stroll through the waking dream, and then I will go for a stroll anywhere, to work, or to school, or to the park, or on a walk, in this state of clear clarity. And when you're immersed in either of the screens, you're not there, because you're not in control of yourself or the situation. But in the condition of clarity, you're free. And from this moment, your dream, whether it be whilst you're sleeping or in the waking life, becomes a lucid dream, where you are in control of yourself, and most importantly, you acquire the capacity to control the situation. You see, the film characters that appear then in your reality are all you. As you're asleep, as in the waking life, you're in a film, and then you're carried by the flow of the script of the film. Your mind is never your own, because your attention is not your own. It's either in the outer screen or the inner screen. And so when you're going on this stroll, you ought to have noticed that your own attention was constantly drifting away, either in the outer or inner screens. But when you are aware, unlike all the other characters around you who are asleep, you start to see yourself. And you see your reality, and you can consciously control your will, which you couldn't do previously. And this is your first step towards a new level of self-control, but also controlling your reality. The script is the one that you're led by a certain outer script, which then starts to weave you into a film, in which you're only one of the characters of the multidimensional characters in all the parallel realities. The dream characters are different to living people. They have no self-awareness. They're not aware of themselves as individual personalities. They have no willpower. They're not free in their actions because they're all controlled by the script. They're simple templates, almost mannequins, and they cannot say, I am me, because they're not aware of the self. You, or rather your self, as in your big self, your true self, is the same thing as your attention. Your attention cannot stay in the awareness center for very long, and this is when you have to develop the new habit of bringing your attention back to your center. Use your attention to track your attention yourself as that. And so dreams, both while sleeping and in the waking life, can be either lucid or non-lucid. In the non-lucid dream, you're helpless, hopping along like a rabbit, aimlessly. But all you have to do is start controlling the focus of your attention, and you come to life in a movie, gaining the ability to behave at will exactly as you fit in. And with this, I'd like to talk more about the different sleeping states. So one of the states, which is a most important state, which is your deep sleeping state, which in Indian we call the sushupti state, is one where you are completely immersed in your pure subjectivity, your inner self, without a self-awareness. So you're free of any waking thoughts or your subconscious impressions. And it is here that the innermost self is close to the pure subjective plane. In this state, one is aware of nothing and has no notion of how much time has actually passed. And so when they actually wake up in the morning, they feel very refreshed, as if they've had a really good night's sleep. Following this is the next stage of deep sleep, which is extremely rare, of becoming conscious of the absolute void of pure subjectivity during one's sleep. This is called the turiya state. It's a transcendental state, often known as samadhi, the state of the void of pure consciousness, accessing the state of total subjectivity. In this state, all the senses are quiet, all thoughts are absent, and any subliminal or subconscious impressions do not exist at all. This deep sleep state is in a complete awakened awareness of the self. It's your soul consciousness. But it has not yet encompassed the universal supersoul consciousness called the Param Atma. So samadhi means absorption, focusing on one point, usually between the eyebrows. And in meditation we can do this by focusing on a candle flame or focusing on your breath until the mind is completely merged with the object of the meditation, and where the mind is completely dissolved. We have tratic meditations, which I can talk to you about on your one-to-one soul coaching calls. I can teach those. We have breath meditations, which I also do. If you have a look in my link tree below, I take you through a process of breath work using specific Swara Yoga techniques, as well as other releasing breathwork techniques to bring you into a state of complete nothingness. So take a look at the Linktree description below, where you can always book a discovery call with me, and we can, talk through the process of what's best suited for you. Beyond samadhi, there is a state that also exists in a pure and clear light of consciousness, even in the midst of any worldly activity. And this state is beyond the turiya state. It is called the turyatita state. It is the state of samadhi in waking, sleeping, dreaming, and deep sleep states. This turyatita state is the final liberation, and it is the full awakening, whereby one experiences the supreme light of divinity in the midst of any worldly activity. The state of being, remember, not the circumstances, but this state of being is a pure light state of being all the time, 24/7, regardless, where you're not pulled or swayed by anything, where you're constantly in the middle screen as a pure light conscious being. It is a state of unity consciousness and of oneness and of complete intimacy with reality, because all is self, but you're actually all is self with absolutely everything. And so one who is self in the universe, knowing fully that all of this is my expansion as the all is self experiencing the self, sets experiences of a divine state even in the flow of different cognitions all the time. This is the purest state of consciousness. And this is our ultimate aim. And this is who we truly are, as a soul being merged with the cosmic consciousness. Now very soon I will be having a new online course. Again, it'll be advertised on my Linktree, and it is called the Leela Game of Life, where it's a game of snakes and arrows, where you play it either by yourself or with a few other people. And it takes you through the 72 squares of consciousness, eventually leading you to this state of cosmic consciousness. But the interesting thing about this game is, as you arrive at each square, you learn more and more about yourself as you go through an inward journey. And if you've passed the various tests, you climb the ladders. But if you have lessons to learn, then you fall down the snakes. Now there is no right and there is no wrong and there is no hurry, because there's only the now. Because all exists as self, experiencing the self. And there's only the now. And what you give out is what you get back. Because the universal laws always apply. And there'll always be change, except for the universal laws. And even when you do reach cosmic consciousness, you simply come back again to learn more and more and more about yourself, because the journey is an infinite journey. But the levels of consciousness within the journey can still rise. But the journey is ad infinitum. So take a deep breath and I look forward to seeing you all again on Wednesday, where I'll take you through a meditation about these processes to help you to assimilate these teachings and these learnings that I've put together even further. I wish you wholeness and balanced vibrations, and thank you for being.